team Saturday, 3:55 a.m. Eastern Time, available on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. A host of guests coming our way throughout the broadcast this morning. Alden Gonzalez will join us after the Dodgers clinched their 8th straight NL West title last night. Sam Pasco, a KBO podcaster, will talk to him about his passion within the league. And former fan favorite Shane Newman will join us as well, the former Lotte Giants pitcher. And 3 outs for Wilson. Sam Pasco, KBO podcaster, will join us on the other side of the break here as KBO on ESPN continues.
Triple Action Moisturizer.
Back with you, John Brickley, alongside Chris Burke and KBO podcaster Sam Pasco joining us now. And let's first talk about the game that we're seeing here, Sam. The LG Twins out to a lead on the SK Wyverns based on the performance of Tyler Wilson on the hill, as well as the combination of Roberto Ramos and Hyun-Soo Kim. What have you been taking away from what we've seen so far in this game?
I think you got to look at Tyler Wilson. If he can be a solid number 2 behind Casey Kelly, I think this team has a real chance to succeed. We saw Roberto Ramos, what he can do. If he's fully healthy and back from injury, I have no doubt this offense can score a ton of runs, and that's what you need to do in the KBO. But the more important thing is probably preventing them, especially when you're going up against the NC Dinos, a real contender. No offense to the Wyverns, they're not exactly the playoff caliber team that the Twins need to be beating right now. But, if Tyler Wilson can come out here to have some solid starts, it should be an impressive unit coming down the stretch.
Well, so where do you rank these teams, Sam? Where would you put LG in your top 4?
I think right now I put them at number 3. The KT Wiz, I know maybe they didn't say, but I definitely think they got to be at number 3. The Heroes struggle a little bit. The Twins, yeah, they've also struggled. And, no one's there at the Dinos at number 1. I got the Dinos hat right here. They're still number 1. There it is. I still got to rank them number 1. The Twins have some room to gain, but they definitely can do it.
I was going to say, where was the cap? I was waiting for the NC Dinos cap to appear for you, Sam, because I know how big you are. There we go, on how big you are on the Dinos. We've had this conversation with a variety of guests on whether or not you look at this Dinos team and you say, are they collapsing or not? But what do you make of where they are right now based on the number of games that they still have to make up and the fact that a majority of their games are still against non-playoff teams?
I look at it and see they still got 2.5 game lead in first place right now. They've looked horrible at times since their hot start back in May, cooled down since June, and they're still in first. No one's caught them. That, I think, says a lot that they've been able to hold off, the Twins, the Heroes, a lot of the strong competition that's coming on. Are they collapsing? Maybe a little bit, but I still believe in Rosinski. If you get Changmo-Ku back and Mike Wright, not a huge big 3, but definitely a big top 2, and Mike Wright can definitely be, right there, one of the best starters on a good day. So I still think they can be the champions, and if they hold on to that number 1 seed, that's going to be a key thing, and they're going to be able to actually maybe go all the way.
So does that bullpen concern you then?
No. When you can score runs like the Dinos can, when you have Aaron Altair, the former Philly, the former San Francisco Giant, actually, for just one at bat, you got him batting 8th. That says a lot about what this team can do offensively. You get Sungbum Na back in there. I think, a 17-15 type victory is still a victory. So I don't think I'm really worried about that bullpen.
17
I was just about to ask you what you thought about Altair batting 8th. I mean, what are we doing there? What are we doing with Altair batting 8th? Are you okay with that as a fan? Are you questioning the managerial decision there? How do you feel about that?
If it works for Aaron, I think I'm fine with it. I mean, you'd want to have, your foreign batting a little higher just to get a little bit more at bats, maybe scare the pitcher off a little bit more. But, I mean, if it works for him, if he's going, 2 for 3, I'm fine with it. I don't think you have to bat him, 3rd or 4th, and maybe he's got a little mental, the yips if he bats a little higher. That seems to be what happens every time, but I'm fine with it.
All right, let me ask you, how did you get into the KBO? Tell me what allowed you to start following the game and then obviously fall in love with it.
Yeah, so I started my sports media career doing a lot of interviews here in my hometown of San Francisco. Giants, Warriors, talking to a lot of different players and managers. Bruce Bochy covered his last season with the Giants at Oracle Park. And when sports shut down back in March, I don't even know when that was now, and the CPBL, that was Taiwan's baseball league, and the KBO, they were the only ones really starting up. And I wanted to talk to some of the American guys over there, seeing what's it like being a professional baseball player under COVID, under these times. How are we going to do this with empty ballparks? So that's how I started. I reached out to a couple guys on social media, seeing what they were up to, did a couple interviews, about a dozen, talking to different players overall. And that's how I started. And then RotoWire saw my work. Not too many guys were covering the league at that point, so they picked me up, and now I do a show with Eric Halterman, who's just a KBO genius as well. And it just covering the league on a bi-weekly basis, two shows a week, and a lot of fun. And that's how it's been, just through the personal interest side of learning these American players.
Here's Moon pitching with an 0-2 pitch, 1-2 with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th inning. That is the great thing, Berkey, about the passion that we've seen covering the KBO here on ESPN. Like Sam, like Michael Collins has said, he's watched it as many times in the morning. It is a great sight to see. I do have to ask you, Sam, and if we have to cut you off at the end of the inning, we'll keep you on for the top of the 7th. But how'd you make Bruce Bochy laugh?
Oh, yes. Well, Kevin Pillar, he was acquired from Toronto at the beginning of last year, and he was a fan favorite. Do you have time? It's a pretty good story.
And Sam, that's a great way to tease it. At the end of the 6th inning, we'll get that story coming up on the other side of the break. Through 6, SK trailing LG 5-2.
Here's a tip.
We move to the 7th inning. Sam Pasco joins us once again, KBO podcaster. Chris Burke, John Brickley with you. And Sam, we were talking about this before the end of the 6th inning. You live in San Francisco. You've been able to cover the Giants, but how did you make Bruce Bochy laugh? I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, so I noticed Kevin Pillar, one of the in-season acquisitions for the team last year, was batting pretty low in the order. During batting practice, he seemed to be popping a lot of home runs, was looking great. And then I noticed, batting low, asked him pregame in the media scrum they have, why is he batting so low? He gave just kind of an answer, new guy, want to get him acclimated. And then during the game, I believe he went like 2 for 3, hit a home run, the Giants won, and then I followed up post-game about that. And he just gave a chuckle, like, you asked about that pregame, didn't you? And I said, yes, I did. And he liked that because Kevin Pillar ended up winning the Willie Mack Award, one of the great characters, great players on the Giants, became their icon last year. Sad to see him now playing against us in the Rockies, with the Rockies right now. But that was one of the many other reasons, because I asked a lot of personal interest type questions, and they had a Bruce Bochy mug day as well, and I asked him, what type of beverage are you going to be drinking out of it? And he said, I don't think I can drink out of a mug with my face on it. So a lot of different personal interest, fun stuff like that. But yeah, he was a great guy to watch during that last season, and a Hall of Famer.
Now, Sam, you are in San Francisco currently, but you are attending the University of Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
Yes. Unfortunately, class is online. I have a Zoom class in about an hour and a half, Spanish class at 6 a.m. my time. So that's not too fun. Not looking forward to that. But yeah, that's how it is. My schedule's I'm done at 11 in the morning, so that's a positive. But yeah, it's been a unique experience, to put it one way. Definitely one to tell the grandkids about in a generation to come.
No question about it. So you're going across the country for college, and obviously not yet. Is what drew you to Penn?
They have a great communications program. I love the sports media on ESPN now. I just want to continue that in the big city kind of environment where you kind of get that small college campus feel, because it's in West Philly, and University City is what they call it, because it's right there with Drexel. But you're also, in a major Philadelphia, the Eagles, the Phillies, got everything right there. Then in South Philly. So I kind of like that combination, and just, trying to get the best education I can. It was a lofty goal, and I got in, and really thankful I was able to do that back in December.
Man, that's awesome.
Berkey, I would have gone to Penn had they accepted me.
Sure. Didn't you turn them down with Harvard?
Yeah, exactly. As Jay with the ground ball. Great sliding stop by Jung over to first, but not in time. Continues the inning for SK. I got to ask you this question, Sam, because I've heard this interview before when you were talking with Kyle Peterson and Tom Hart early on in the season for KBO. Mel Rojas Jr., is he going to win the Triple Crown? You had said it's a lock. Do you still feel that same way at this point of the season?
I sure do. I think the power he showed earlier, coming down the stretch, this KT Wiz franchise, they want that playoff berth, and I think he's going to give it to him. I mean, the KBO official Twitter channel, every Monday, I believe it is, they tweet out standings and all different stats, and they have leaders as well. And I always see like 4 little Mel Rojas Jr. faces for home runs, RBIs, runs scored. Maybe now he's slowing up a little bit, but he's been, OPS over 1,000 for like 10 straight weeks in there. I think, coming down about, last couple 20 games or so, he can really heat up. And his power against some of these slower pitchers and the bullpens, oh man, I wouldn't be surprised if he had like a 4 home run day.
Sam's a believer. Sam, I'm not a believer, but I do think he's going to hold on and win 2 of the 3. Even though, man, Hyun-Soo Kim is red hot right now and is actually, I don't know if you were listening earlier, but Kim has now tied him in RBIs. But I do not think he's going to win that batting title. I think that's either going to be Kim or Miguel Fernandez. But I like it. And I love the story of the Wiz and the Dinos and the heroes. You look at 3 of the top 4 teams right now in the league, all trying to get their first Korean Series title. So those are some pretty cool storylines to follow. What do you think of Sungbum Na's chances of signing in the major leagues at the end of this season? Sam, how do you think he'd look in a San Francisco Giant uniform?
I'd like it, but I don't know if we're the right fit just because we got Joey Bart. I know he's been struggling recently, but I'm a big Joey Bart fan. Drafted number 2 overall a couple of years back. Hopefully Posey will return as well. I think any team that signs him in the majors will be lucky to have him. I think the Dinos will be a little worse, but not as worse as you would think, because they got Yuji Yang backing him up, and he's a base hit machine as well. So I think a lot of these KBO guys can make the jump, and I think Sungbum Na is definitely one of them.
By the way, Tyler Wilson in a little bit of a jam. 91 pitches for the Twins starter. Has 2 on with 2 outs with Koo at the plate with a chance to tie it with 1 swing of the bat as LG has a 5-2 lead. Do the Giants make the postseason? Do you have that feeling that the Giants are going to get in?
I could say the Lotte Giants, no. San Francisco Giants, yes. I think Gabe Kapler, there's something about this team. I think they'll get hot during this final stretch with the Padres, help that division record, and hopefully make it and sneak in there. We know what happens when they get in that postseason mix. They don't drop balls like that. Pablo Sandoval, third base, he would have caught that. But I think this team, they got something to them.
Sam, really appreciate the time. Really great insight, my friend, and we'll definitely have you on down the stretch here. But let's just say the NC Dinos right now, your team in first place, looks like they're going to hold on potentially, but the Giants, I don't know, on the outside looking in for the playoff picture. Good luck in Spanish class, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Looking forward to Mel Rojas' junior triple crown as well.
Look at that. Sam staying to the point that Mel Rojas Jr. there, Berkey's going to win the Triple Crown. You and I are doubters, but he still is a believer.
He's sticking to it. I admire that.
As we work our way to the bottom of the 7th inning, the LG Twins with a 5-2 lead here on the SK Wyverns, and a great chat and conversation that we had with Sam Pasco, KBO podcaster, and really a great young man to talk to about the beat of what's going on with the KBO and the difficulties I can only imagine, Berkey, in this day and age in the COVID era, where you've got students who live on the West Coast taking online classes. He goes to Penn, but doing a great job being able to handle such a very difficult schedule at such a young age.
These kids are pretty sharp now. They're agile. They can make some adjustments much quicker than those of us who are a little more set in our ways, I think.
as Tanguy Lay, the new pitcher here for SK, after Moon was able to go 6 innings, or I should say 7 innings of solid work. And it's interesting, I'm talking at the age of 36 like I'm 70, like these young kids these days. I mean, think about it. A kid like Sam was born in 2000. 2000.
Yep.
As Yu strikes out to begin the bottom of the 7th inning. But I still find it fascinating that he is holding true to the idea that Mel Rojas Jr. is going to hold on and win the Triple Crown.
Yeah, he seems pretty committed to that take, doesn't he? You know, and again, I'm not far off from him, but you know, there has been a lot of competition that has risen up here over the recent weeks to challenge Rojas in all of those categories now. So, you know, it's interesting, and I'm a fan of it. The Triple Crown still values the traditional stats lead in the KBO for RBIs. Pretty interesting story.
I wonder if Sam Pasco is sweating a little bit on the guarantee that Mel Rojas Jr. is going to win the Triple Crown.